All right, welcome back to Texans Junkies. I'm Mark with Nathan as always, and
Yes,
a
sir.
lot to talk about. We were thinking about pushing out an episode earlier this week, and we were like, "What are we going to talk about?" And then obviously the Stefon Diggs news dropped. So definitely a lot to unpack there, and we're going to go ahead and start with that because obviously the Texans added a really exciting playmaker. Uh, Definitely disgruntled. A lot of opinions about whether or not he's a good fit, but regardless, our wide receiver core is undoubtedly elevated to one of the best, if not the best, in the league. So, Nathan, I kind of want to hear your initial reaction. Uh, who were you looking for? The Texans obviously were clearing up a lot of cap space coming into this week, and we knew that something was coming. We knew that a big signing was about to happen. Uh, what's your initial reaction? Are you happy with this? Would you rather have had someone else sign? I kind of want to hear your take on this.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before. I would never discredit the talent that Stefon Diggs has. He's a very talented player. Um, I just think that Houston for so long kept cancers in locker rooms and in the franchise, and I felt like we kind of got rid of those players that were causing like havoc within each other, just kind of like imploding from the inside. And Stephon Diggs doesn't have a great track record with either of the teams he's been on. With Minnesota, he kind of got disgruntled there and asked for a trade. He went to Buffalo and then played with one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and Josh Allen, and requested a trade. It's like I think we're different. I think this is one of those things where D'Amico is going to keep his head straight. He's going to focus on football. But my initial reaction when I first heard the news, I called you. Like I was excited. I didn't want him at first, and I know
Dude,
you
you've
didn't
got to be
either.
you've got to be one of the official insiders because you told me that news, and obviously you got it from a tweet or something. I don't know, but it barely dropped on Reddit like a minute before. So
Yeah.
kudos to you because that was
Shout
that
out to
was some
Adam
insider
Schefter.
stuff.
Adam
Yeah.
Schefter's Twitter notifications are goaded. That guy will
Oh
put it
yeah.
out immediately. So when I first saw it, I was excited, but also like, man, what did we do? Like, what did we give up? Because it's Stephon Diggs at the end of the day. The guy had, he's a 1,200-yard receiver last year. Um, and he's a top 10 receiver for sure. He's a top 10 receiver.
Yeah.
And he's been great with, I think he has, was it eight? I think he has 8 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. I think I saw today. So,
I can't remember.
he's a great receiver, but I was excited and I am excited now. Um, I'm more excited about how we got him. We didn't give up a whole lot. Um, if we look at what we gave up for Stefan, we gave up a second round pick that we traded our first round number 23 pick to Minnesota for this second round pick that we gave up to Buffalo. And in return, we got Stefon Diggs, a fifth next year and a sixth this year. We know how Casario works in those later rounds. This is great. It's we received something. We received a great receiver in 2 picks. Like there's no way we lost this deal. We won this deal. Um, you know, I don't
Real
know how
quick,
you feel about this trade, but I love it, dude. I
let
love
me
it.
touch on a couple things. First of all, it should be noted that we gave up the 2025 second round pick. So we still have 2 second rounders this year. I'm sure Casario would rather give up the next year's pick because this is looking more and more like an all in year. And I'm sure he wants to get potentially day one starters in the building in areas of need, specifically on the defense, because we've got some holes on the defense still. But who were you referring to, by the way, when you're talking about cancers in the locker room, like players wise? Because like I felt like our cancers in the locker room were Jack Easterby and then Bill O'Brien being
Bill
GM,
O'Brien. Yeah.
and after that, like not much. But the problem was that they were so high ranking that it just spread out amongst everyone. So if you're talking about Deshaun Watson, like sure, like
Yeah,
definitely,
I'm definitely talking about Deshaun. I wouldn't. necessarily call D-Hop one because I don't think he was. I think it just the situation just got really bad,
I
and
think Bill O'Brien
Bill
pissed him off.
O'Brien made a very terrible move. But I mean, we had a lot of problems in the franchise. I'm not just talking about in the locker room, like specifically players, but that's why I said locker room and our franchise. We were
Okay.
basically imploding from the inside. Is where I was trying to get at. Jack Easterby was god awful. We had ownership wasn't taking charge of anything. It seemed like
Definitely in a worse position than we are in now, based on ownership, because Cal's head is actually in the game. Like he cares now. He got the what do you call it, like the will dispute settled and stuff like that. So
yeah,
definitely starts from the top, in my opinion. Like we got rid of Easterby, got a head coach that can connect with players, and we got an owner whose head is back in the game. And like if you pair that with drafting CJ and Will Anderson, like how do you not succeed? So
yeah. So so yeah, I'm not specifically talking about like locker room players, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot of players that had problems with the franchise that asked to leave. There were players like that. That happened without a doubt. But yes, it all starts from the top and then trickles down to the bottom. And by the way, I do want to touch on something that I think is pretty cool. So I think we can thank. There is a guy that you may not want to thank for this, but I believe we wouldn't be in this position without Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith.
I thought you were going to say Deshaun Watson.
I saw this video, and it said Lovie Smith is the reason the Houston Texans are right now, or where they are now, because of him. And it's because in the Indianapolis game, if we lose that game, we have the number 1 pick, and we get Bryce Young. Without a doubt, he's the guy, right? But instead,
I don't know about without a doubt. I understand that he wasn't clear cut like Caleb Williams is this year. Like we still had. I remember there were rumors like
Panthers
3 days
they were
before the
announcing
draft.
Before the draft, though.
Well, Panthers indicated they were going to take Stroud. Like it was weird because like a month before the draft, I remember there was this video of the owner talking to CJ, and they were like getting dinner that night. I can't remember what the details were, but it really seemed like they were going with Stroud. And then 4 days before the draft, it was like, oh, Will Levis is now like his odds to go number 1 have increased greatly, and it was like all smoke. And then like 2 days before the draft, it was like, okay, definitely Bryce Young. So I don't know, it was weird. Like I if we had the number 1 pick, sure, maybe we take Bryce Young. Maybe we take Anthony Richardson. Probably not, because we didn't take Anthony Richardson. But I don't know, man. Like things happen. I don't think he was clear cut. But yeah, we do have to thank Lovie Smith technically. I thought you were going to say Deshaun Watson for the trade haul, in which case I would say no, let's thank the Browns GM. I don't want to thank Deshaun for anything really. But yeah, I mean, you're right, though. Lovie Smith going into that revenge game, which actually worked out for us. I do miss looking at that beard on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
It was glorious, actually. But you're 100% right. Like Davis Mills too for throwing that ball.
Yeah, and Jordan Akins for catching it.
Yeah, he had the 2-point conversion catch too. Like he had like the game of his life, of course. And you know, we all left that like I always root for a Texans win, but really, like why'd it have to happen like that today? And it ended up working out. So
it worked out, and it's all because Lovie went for 2.
It is, yeah.
It's all because he went for 2, and we got it. So yeah, that's basically to sum it up. Lovie went for 2, and we got CJ, we got Will, we got Tank, you know, all that stuff. But another cool thing, you kind of just mentioned it, but when we traded Deshaun Watson, okay, we got a 2022 first round pick that turned into Kenyon Green, okay?
Stud.
We also got a 2022 fourth, which turned into Dameon Pierce. We also got a 2023 first, which turned into Will Anderson Jr., the Defensive Rookie of the Year. We also got a 2023 third, which turned into Tank Dell. And we also got a 2024 first, which turned into Stefon Diggs because we traded it and got all this haul. And this year we have a 2024 fourth.
Still more to come, yeah.
And we gave up Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played a full season yet. can't stay healthy, and got rid of a 2024 sixth. So it's safe to say that you're right. We should thank the Browns GM for everything that's going on in our franchise. That guy gave us a future. And let's not discredit Caserio either. Okay.
I've been
Caserio
saying
made
it
that
from the
happen.
beginning. Ever since Caserio held Watson, and everyone was saying drop him, or trade him now, get whatever you can for him. He held him and held him and held him, and the amount of shit he got for that was insane. But he held him until all the settlements occurred, and his value was at the absolute peak. And then he sold him for 3 first-rounders, and that's when I knew. I was like, this dude, he doesn't care like what criticism he faces. He's gonna make the decision that he thinks is best for the franchise. Is he great at hiring head coaches? I don't think he is particularly. Like D'Amico is basically a shoe-in, in my opinion. But the dude can scout like crazy. He can hit on late rounders. Lately, he's been hitting on day 1 and 2 picks like crazy. So yeah, like I think he deserves a lot of credit too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so that was basically our trade haul that we sent for Diggs to Buffalo. It was not really a haul of much of anything. We sent a second rounder. I didn't even know it was next year's second rounder. Actually, I just learned that just now. I knew it was a second rounder from Minnesota, but I thought it was this year's second. So that's good. We got 2 seconds this year. That's
I want to
good.
make another point real quick. You mentioned that Deshaun can't stay on the field. I can't help but think that might have to do with his restriction to accessing masseuses.
Yeah.
I really do think I think that an interesting subplot may have been that he actually did have one that he really liked and actually like healed his body. But since he was messing around with all the others, now he can't access them anymore, and he's stuck with the shitty team masseuse. I think
Yeah.
that could be an interesting subplot. He just can't say it because it's weird now. But like
Yeah.
maybe that's
No,
why his shoulder's messed up. I don't know.
I
But
agree. I
real
agree.
quick, let's talk about the implications of the trade. So obviously we went over the picks, and by the way, crazy great haul that we got 2 day 3 picks after giving up a second rounder. That's basically nothing for Stefon Diggs. And so after that was announced, we felt a lot better about it. And then we heard that the Texans are wiping the rest of his contract, moving up his bonus to this year, and now he's getting $22.5 million guaranteed. So it's basically, it's not really a prove it deal, but it's like an all in deal. Like if he can, if he meshes well with the team, why not re-sign him? Maybe it's just gonna be a 1 year thing, but the Bills end up taking that dead cap hit, which I think they were going to take next year anyway. So that's probably why they parted with him. But really, really team friendly. And if we want to re-sign other players next year, because we probably got a lot of spending to do anyway, that really works out well for us.
Yeah. So the way I looked at it was when we cleared up that 32 million, roughly, I think it was 31 and a half, 32. I knew something was happening. Something was happening. We tried to trade for Keenan Allen, didn't work.
I would have loved Keenan Allen, dude.
I would have too.
Keenan
I
Allen.
like Stefon a little bit better just because he's a little younger. He can
Is he?
stay. He can stay pretty healthy. I mean, he's played pretty much all his games in his last couple years. So,
Is he younger than Keenan Allen? I feel like
yeah,
Keenan
Allen's
Allen's
I believe
sneaky
is
not old.
32 and Stefon's 31.
It says Allen's 31.
Okay, then they're like the same age. They're basically the same age.
30. Yeah, he's a year older. Okay.
Yeah. So the way I look at this is you give a guy, and by the way, it is a prove it deal, and this is why I like it so much. This is what, because like people don't think about this. Why they're like, why wipe off 3 years? You can have him under contract for 3 years. Well, Caserio knows he's 30, 31, whatever he'll be at the beginning of the season. So it'd be 34, 33 whenever the contract's over. We have to pay a lot of players in the next 3 years. Okay, we have Stingley to pay, and we have Nico to pay next year. You give this guy $22.5 million guaranteed to have a prove it deal to get one more big contract. He has to prove himself this year. He has to do really well with the Texans. That means you can possibly get 1,500 yards from him, which
the
is
best version
perfect.
of him. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's trying to get paid too. He wants to get that big deal. Whether that's with us or whether that's with another team, that doesn't matter. Caserio thought this through. When you wipe the 3 years off his deal, you don't have to deal with him for 3 years. You deal with him for 1 year and you see how it goes. Caserio loves these 1 year deals. And I think he's made a good living off of them. I mean, the guy there's a couple of 1-year deals that we've had with players in the and just even last year that performed really well with us. I mean, Blake Cashman got a 1-year deal extension, and he did really well, and he got paid. He got paid more than anybody would have paid him. Minnesota paid him way more than anybody else. That's where Stefon Diggs is at right now. He is on a prove-it deal. He is looking for that one last big contract, and this is the year to do it. And this is the team to do it with. You have a star quarterback in C.J. Stroud. You have Nico Collins on the other side, and Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Robert Woods. I mean, let's not get into it with those guys, but it's like with Robert Woods and Noah Brown. But it's crazy. We have arguably, in my opinion, a top 3 offense in the league. Mark, I don't know where you would rank our offense, but dude, CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce had RB2, Stefon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. Dude, I mean, I don't know.
So here's what I'm going to say to that is I would say we're second best, but I think when you're factoring everything in second best, but I think Xavier Hutchinson puts us just over the edge, and I'm going to call us the best.
Okay.
No, I'm totally kidding, dude. I think we are the best.
Okay.
And I on paper, which I hate the saying on paper because it really does not matter at all. It doesn't matter what you are on paper. The Bills were the best offense on paper for the last few years, I would say, or among the best. And you know, they didn't get to a Super Bowl. So I would say we're up there with the 49ers. We'll see what happens with Ayuk. And you always have to put the Chiefs on there because of the Mahomes-Kelsey effect.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult to think of anyone with a more loaded offense right now. And we'll see. I don't think we're going to address it too much in the draft. I think our offense right now is going to look a lot like what we put out on the football field in August or September. But yeah, I think undeniably we're pretty damn high. And by the way, we're going to touch a little bit more on a future episode that we're both looking forward to, which we're going to do basically around the AFC South, and hopefully we'll have a guest on too. Yeah. But that's going to be a fun episode. We're going to talk about how our division rivals also loaded up on weapons this offseason. But yeah, I think definitely it's hard to say that we're not top 2 in the AFC and then top 3 in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's I would say we're definitely top 3 in the NFL, but honestly, dude, Trayvon Diggs actually tweeted out that 3 number ones is crazy. So you have Stefon Diggs, a number 1, bona fide number 1. You have Nico, who proved that he could be a number 1, and Tank Dell isn't a number 1, but I'm sure he could be a number 1.
So hold up, let me touch on that because a lot of people. I mean, I've just felt like a lot of people are like, Tank Dell's not number 1, like all this stuff. But, dude, you just had to be there, man. You just had to be a Texans fan watching last season because the dude is unbelievable. Yeah. I still remember that catch that he made. I think it was right before halftime against the Cardinals where he jumped up in the air, caught the ball in the corner of the end zone and landed on his back. I was like, wow, that dude is a stud. So I do think it's 3 number 1s. I think he put Tank Dell on a lot of teams right now, and he immediately emerges as the number 1 option. So. Yeah, I think Diggs was right on the money.
Yeah, and so when you look at that, and you also look at a guy like Joe Mixon, who is going to change our offense already, and like you said, on paper, right now, looking at Joe Mixon, he's better than Singletary. He's obviously better than Dameon Pierce, which, by the way, I think Dameon Pierce is getting a lot of hate recently. Not loving it, but I think our offense is going to change like crazy. Dude, when you have these 3 receivers, Joe Mixon, and hopefully a healthy offensive line, I don't know where Kenyon Green is going to fit on this offensive line. It's not really that big of a deal to me. Caserio did a great job getting depth at every offensive line position last year. I don't know what depth we have now left. I know Dieter left. I don't know if Kendrick Green is still on the team. I doubt
Josh Jones is gone too.
Josh Jones left. And George Fant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with those guys, right now you look at Laramie, Kenyon, maybe Juice, Jarrett Patterson at center. Right guard will be Shaq, and then right
Scott.
tackle will be Titus.
Okay, yeah. I thought we were mentioning depth too. I was going to say Scott Quesenberry, who is a great backup center in my opinion.
Yeah, and he will be a backup for sure. Jarrett
I
Patterson
think so
played
too.
great. He just got hurt.
Yeah.
And as long as this team, Mark, can stay healthy, dude, we are legit Super Bowl contenders. We are Super Bowl contenders right now. And that's
Yeah.
you can't argue with that. Like,
Yeah.
all jokes aside, last year was our rebuild year. We thought, 3-year window to get to the playoffs. We're talking about a year after our rebuild year, we're in Super Bowl contention. Look at our team. Our defense got loaded this free agency. We got Daniil Hunter. We got Azeez Al-Shaair. We just
a
got
little shallow, but we did get some awesome weapons.
we got Danico Autry. We still, we got I don't even know. It's that guy from Jacksonville. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Fatu something.
Batu Saki or something.
Yeah, something
Foley.
like that.
His name's Foley. Let's call him Foley.
Foley.
I think
yeah,
it is.
And we still have Sting. We still have Ward. We still have Petrie. We still have a lot of people that, if can stay healthy, can turn this team into a Super Bowl contender.
Christian Harris.
We'll notice that
Christian
very
Harris?
soon. What happened?
Oh, I said, did you mention Christian Harris, by the way?
Christian Harris. I forgot.
Dude, I'm excited to see him next year. I'm excited. Dude, he and Azeez Al-Shaair are going to be lethal. I am really excited to see them. And then we got obviously we got Toto for depth too, which I think he's going to grow well. I think to put him in a starting position in his rookie year, like obviously he's going to encounter some struggles. So we'll see.
And we also have King back. Denzel Perryman isn't returning, by the way. No. We let him go. I don't know. That's up in the air.
I'm cool with it. I'm fine. I'm okay with parting ways with good players as long as we replace them with great players. And I think if we get Al-Shaair, I'm cool with parting ways. Obviously, we also lost Cashman, but we'll see. And then Danico Autry is better than both Collins and Rankins. So we'll see. We need D tackle, corner, and safety help still. So we'll see.
Yeah, and so Mark, I believe on the last episode when we were talking, we said something. I believe I asked you like something along the lines of like, where do you see our wide receiver room now? Where do you see our offense now? Like, and it's crazy in that a 2-week period, we just took a complete 180, and it was only by one player for a second-round pick next year to make that happen. Where do you think is our biggest need offensively now? I mean, we focus so much on the defense in free agency, so much. We got one offensive player, and we re-signed obviously Noah Brown, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about we got one player.
We got Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon
also, and Stefon Diggs.
No, I'm in free agency.
Oh, free agency. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. In free agency, we got one offensive player and 11 defensive players. So we focus heavily on the defense.
Well, that's also where we lost most of our players. So
but we also knew that there's a lot of things that need to be done offensively. We lost our running back. We did get Joe Mixon, but we also know that Noah Brown, John Mechie, and Xavier Hutchinson isn't going to cut it with just Nico Collins and Tank Dell. We also know that we struggled off with our offensive line last year. But now, after picking up Stefon in this trade, where do you think is our biggest need on offense? If any.
I would still – there's always a need, in my opinion. Even the greatest teams have needs on either side of the ball or on both sides of the ball. But I would say I would still like some more help at running back. And then I'm not sold on our O-line yet. I think they had a good year last year, and honestly, I love our O-line. I love who we got on it. We need to see us healthy. Without Titus Howard, we weren't in too much trouble because George Fant did a nice job, but we just need to be healthier. Like, we need to have more bodies because even though like people stepped in nicely, we were thin there. But I would say running back still, even though we did get Joe Mixon. I think we need to draft a running back. And I think you should always draft a running back with a late round pick because you can really hit on them and you're getting usually still the best of the best because they get drafted so late. But I would say running back. What do you think?
Um, it's kind of crazy to say, but I think receiver only because I'm not sold on Mechie or Hutchinson. And they're going to be fighting for a spot this offseason, by the way. I mean, you know that. I know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, other than that, dude, it's just depth. We need O-line depth. You can never go wrong with O-linemen. You have to
yeah.
draft them. You have to keep them coming in because they have to fight for spots. Jarrett Patterson was a late round pick. I think he was 7th round pick, I think, or
By the
6th,
way,
something like
speaking of
that.
which, do you have any doubt that Casario is going to hit on the 5th or the 6th rounder? I have no doubt that one of those he's gonna get at least a good role player out of. Like,
Yeah,
I have a lot of
I could
confidence
see
in
it.
this.
I mean,
Yeah,
and by the way, it is April 5th when we're filming this. Very close to the draft. We will have an episode very soon on our draft predictions. So we're not going to get into much into it right now, but I would say with how he's done in his recent years, I would say that one of them will hit for sure.
yeah. I mean, draft predictions. Like, honestly, we might have to do positional needs because we're drafting in the 2nd round at the earliest. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is a prospect I've been watching for a long time. Like, I really don't know a lot of people. I do watch college football, but I don't know a lot of people who are being picked in the 2nd round. So, like, we'll see. We will definitely do a draft episode. I'm more excited about the episodes after the draft. We're going to be talking about record predictions. I already mentioned the AFC South overview. We're going to be doing a lot of predicting, which is fun and pointless, but it's really fun. So yeah, and then here, let's go ahead real quick. I wanted to ask you this earlier. And
Hold on 1 second. By the
okay.
way, we do have the Hall of Fame game will be Houston
Oh
Texans
yeah.
versus the Chicago Bears. We believe they're going to draft Caleb Williams. I think we're on that's the consensus.
Yeah.
Okay. So, by the way, they screwed everything up. That's just my opinion. They could have
We're going to
had
talk
the
more
best.
about
They could
that.
have had a way better receiving core than the Texans with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Marvin Harrison with Justin Fields at quarterback. That's just my opinion.
Dude, I
But now
agree.
that they're going to have Caleb Williams, we're going to see Stroud versus Williams, and our receiving core versus their receiving core, and our defense versus their offense, type of thing. So that's going to happen, I believe, semi soon after the draft. I mean, I know it's before preseason starts, I believe,
It's like
or
I
maybe
think
it's
it's
the
like a
kickoff
week.
to preseason.
I think it's the kickoff to preseason, and it's like either a couple days or a week before.
Okay, and they
I
might not
can't
even
remember.
play Stroud or Caleb Williams, but I would
Yeah, I
like
don't
to
think they
see it
will.
in the first quarter, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, imagine we just get shredded. I'd be like, oh no.
Yeah,
But
I would
no,
hate
I
that.
don't think that'll happen. But real quick, let me say that one point while I'm still hanging on to it for dear life. Who back to Stefon Diggs real quick, and this is the last we're going to talk about him for this episode probably. But who did you want to see originally? Because I'll be honest, dude, 3 hours before the Stefon Diggs news broke, I texted my fantasy football group chat. Like someone said that there were rumors, and I was like, I don't really want him. And that did not age well because now I'm actually really glad we have him. I think just because it's exciting. But originally, in my opinion, I wanted Justin Simmons or Derek Brown, like to sign Justin Simmons or trade for Derek Brown. Obviously, Derek Brown just signed an extension, and Justin Simmons is still a free agent. But who did you want to see?
So I did want to see, and I still do think we can get him. I don't think he goes teamless before the year starts. Justin Simmons, I'm saying, and also Quandre Diggs, by the way, and Jamal Adams. I don't want Jamal Adams. I'm not saying that, but he is an option. He
Xavier
will be
Howard too.
Xavier Howard. I don't
It's a
think we're
lot.
going after Xavier Howard. We
I
just
don't think
have
so
we
either.
have a lot of depth at corner right now. Young depth, and now we could get Xavier Howard to just be that bonus, like the solid number 2, and then have those guys fight for 3 and 4 or whatever. But
I would
to
prefer
answer
something
your
like that.
question,
Yeah.
I'm going to answer it this way. Who I wanted at receiver was Michael Pittman. I know he didn't hit free agency. I wanted Michael Pittman. It would have been a way better option, by the way. I know he's not Stefon Diggs yet, but he's 25 or 26 years old, and he probably would have cost the Indianapolis Colts about $22.5 million, and I would have been happy with paying it.
I don't like gassing up the Colts, but it was an obvious right decision to keep him, and he is a bona fide number 1. In case anyone's still wondering or disagreeing with me, I'm saying it right now. Like he's elite. He's great.
for sure. I didn't want T. Higgins.
Me either.
I think he's. I don't know. He's been a number 2 to Jamar Chase, and I feel like he wanted to be the number 1 somewhere. He wanted that. That is his position.
And that's why he's
And
still
like
not
Tank
signed.
Dell told Big Sarge, who is like he's a Houston. He covers the Texans. He said, "There's no number 1s on our field. There's none." He said, "CJ will find the open receiver. That's it." And that's how you have to look at it. Like, I even told you my opinion on number, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver. No, you have the guys on the field, and CJ will find them. He's not going to hit Stefon because he's better than Nico. He's going to hit Stefon because Nico's not open. He's going to hit Nico because neither Tank or whoever's not open.
I agree. I think that was a great point made by Big Sarge too. But that is why I'm worried about the Stefon Diggs fit, because the dude is known to have an issue with how many targets he gets, who takes credit. And, for example, Josh Allen versus Stefon Diggs, who gets more credit? Josh Allen was looked at as sort of like the saving grace of the Bills when he came around the late 2010s and took them out of, despair, I suppose is the only way to put it. And I think I'm worried that if he doesn't see a certain number of targets, or if people are praising CJ or the scheme or other offensive weapons more than him, that he's gonna do diva shit basically, and start lashing out, and you're gonna see cryptic tweets and stuff. That's what I'm worried about. That's what you're worried about. We've already talked about it. That was the first thing we talked about, was I hope he's not a locker room cancer. So I agree with this point. There are no number 1s, but I don't think that Stefon Diggs would like that point of view, because I think the dude thinks highly of himself, and he should, because he's been the best wherever he's gone. But now you're in a scheme with more weapons than Minnesota or Buffalo,
right?
Which is exciting to say. And you're going to have to accept that you're not the guy, you are one of the guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the fit's like. I'm excited. And by the way, it should be mentioned that he did pay Jimmy Ward $100,000 to get the number 1 jersey. I hope that's not a sign that he wants to be number 1. I don't think it is, but I do like the fact that he's not bringing 14 over, even though I think 14 is a clean number. But you got the 713 connection with him, Stroud, and Dell, so that's pretty cool.
I was just about to say that the 713 connection, dude. That's going to be awesome to see. But yeah, and by the way, I'm looking at some of his stats. He had 160 targets last year. Now, granted, Gabe Davis, I believe, was hurt a lot. But he had 107 receptions. I'm not saying all of them were his fault, like he didn't catch all of them, but that's a pretty big margin. I mean, that's a 107 receptions to 160 targets. Year before that, 108 receptions to 154, 103 to 164, 127 to 166.
But I'm wondering how many of those are drops and not just like normal incompletions. I'm wondering that. And also, I think that that's because he's been the clear-cut number 1. Like, we'll see what that ratio is like when – I mean, who the hell do you put your number 1 corner on when you're facing us?
Yeah, you have to pick your poison.
Stefon's going to get open, and it's exciting. But, like, who do you put him on? Like, do you put your fastest corner on Tank because he's streaking down the sideline, or Nico who's making a quick slant route cut up the middle? Like, I don't know who you put him on. I would be very scared to face the Texans this year. So
and it's true, because my thing is you have to pick your poison. We have, like Trayvon Diggs said, we have 3 number 1s. Who are you gonna put? Even if your wide receiver 1 can lock up Stefon Diggs, your wide receiver 2 isn't locking up Nico Collins, and damn sure your corner 3, if he's out there, ain't guarding Tank Dell. So,
and by the way, if they play sort of a prevent defense because we have too many weapons, just hand it off to Mixon.
It's
dude, crazy.
They're screwed. Our offense is amazing, and
we have Dalton Schultz, who is a top 10 tight end. Did we mention that?
Dalton Schultz.
I don't think we mentioned that.
Dude, I didn't even think about Schultz, dude.
Dude, it's crazy. Our weapons are insane, and honestly, I'm kind of bummed because I'm gonna go ahead and give out what a future prediction of mine was gonna be, and I can't remember if I already said it or not, but. We were going to do a breakout player of the year, and this isn't going to be him anymore because I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity, possibly. but John Mechie was going to be my breakout player of the year. I watched him in person when I went to Auburn, and I believe in him. I think he's a beast. But man, it's gonna be hard to get some reps behind those guys. Like, we'll see. I'm probably gonna switch my breakout candidate just because I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's gonna be able to carve out a significant role. So we'll see.
Yeah. So here, I want to move on to this question. I'm not specifically talking about the AFC South, which, by the way, we're going to talk about that later. So let's not get into it.
Yeah.
But the AFC, and we can even say the AFC and the NFL. But where do the Texans, in your opinion, stand right now with the roster that you've seen so far? This isn't including the draft yet, but right this second after this trade, I believe we went from a top 7 team, in my opinion, in the NFL, and probably a top
in the
5
NFL
team
or
in
AFC?
the NFL for
top
sure.
7?
Yeah, top 7 before this trade. After this trade, dude, I believe we're number 1 in the AFC. I know what you're
I'm not talking about Baltimore. I don't think we can label ourselves number 1 until we beat the damn Chiefs. Like, dude, I don't care how they did in the regular season last year. I know they were ups and downs, but when you have Patrick Mahomes, you are automatically one of the best. And the Mahomes effect and how much of a field general he is, you can't. It's irreplaceable. So, dude, I can't label us number 1 until we beat the Chiefs. I can't do it because they're just too damn good. Like, they are so good. I don't care. Kelsey's declining. Rashee Rice had weed on him and crashed a car, which is pretty interesting news, by the way. Mm-hmm. But dude, I can't say we're number 1 because those Chiefs, and I know we lost to the Ravens last year too, but I'm not even counting them, dude. Like, I do think that this puts us over the top with the Ravens, and it's talking pretty early. I understand. But it's the Chiefs that are the problem. They're a dynasty, and they haven't slowed down yet.
Yeah, and by the way, against Kansas City last year, they won 20-17. Stefon had 24 yards. That was on L'Jarius Sneed, who, by the way, is no longer with the Kansas City Chiefs. They have Trent McDuffie.
He's on the Titans now.
He's on the Titans. Unfortunately, we're gonna have
that should be noted. And Joe Flacco's on the Colts,
right.
which I'm even more scared of. I don't like seeing Flacco in our division. The dude's a beast. I'm telling you.
And so that's why I believe we are number 1 in the AFC. I do think we just have to prove it. We have to prove that we can beat the Chiefs. We have to prove that we can beat the Ravens. And with adding this weapon of his caliber, he is a bona fide number 1 anywhere he goes. Not anywhere, but most teams he is a number 1 wherever he goes. I think, without a doubt, we are the number 1 team in the AFC, and I would say probably top 3 in the
without
NFL.
a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Wow.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Dude,
I don't agree, but I definitely think I already said that I think we're top 3, and the reason why I said top 2 in the AFC is because I'm telling you, man, the Chiefs ever since that 2018.
19, but you're talking about when we lost 20.
Yeah,
when we were up 24.
Ever since 24-0, we have not been the same as a fan base, as a team. We haven't, and I know this team is way different, so it's exciting. But we have to beat the Chiefs, and I can't label us number 1. So it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure, I get it.
And we're gonna move on. We wanted to talk about basically the biggest NFL news before the Stefon Diggs trade for like 2 weeks prior, because it's quiet this time of year. But the rule changes that have been put in place, and we're not going to talk about this too extensively because, frankly, it bores me a little bit. It's going to be cool, but I don't know. It'll be cool. But the 2 biggest rule changes are the kickoff rule change and the hip drop tackle. And I know it's a specific variation, but I can't remember.
I believe it's like, what is it, like if you tackle them from the back, you can't drag them down or something like that.
It's some sort of hip drop tackle. But taking notes from the XFL, using a different kickoff system, how do you think that's going to affect the league or the Texans in general?
Yeah, so I believe their thinking on it was to make kickoffs more fun. I think it can do that. I'm a big fan of it because, yes, they play the game of football. They know what they sign up for, but we can always make things safer where it's needed. I don't think anyone should get hurt on a kickoff. It's a kickoff. Like,
Yeah.
if we can prevent some, I mean, dude, you remember last year when Dare Ngumbawale popped somebody on a kickoff return. I don't remember what game it was, but he laid this dude out, and it was a big hit. Like, it could have definitely hurt that guy. I don't know who it was, and it did happen. You can look it up. It definitely
I'm not
did
remembering
happen.
that play, but I don't doubt it happened.
It definitely happened. You can look it up on YouTube. Like, Darian Ngumbawale hit somebody on a kickoff. But, dude, it was a big hit. And imagine, these guys are running full speed to stop a guy who's also running 10 miles an hour, and they collide, and they're hitting. This isn't slow. This isn't slow motion. They are hitting them. So I believe this kickoff will, bring the injuries down a bit. It might make it more fun. People might get more kickoff return touchdowns, which are kind of rare. They're pretty rare.
We got 3 return touchdowns last year, though. That was awesome. I think a couple were punt returns, but still, it was awesome.
Yeah. Like, and I do think that the hip drop tackle ban, I'm not a fan of, because, dude, that's
so real quick. Let me say something before we move on to hip drop tackle about the kickoff return.
Okay.
I think I saw some sort of statistic that it was like in the Super Bowl, or in this and previous Super Bowls, like the previous 14 kickoffs had resulted in a touchback. And I think it was affecting the ratings, honestly, because on my favorite podcast, well, second favorite, ours is my favorite, but on my other favorite podcast, the Around the NFL podcast, which highly recommend y'all go check it out. It's a general NFL one. Still come to us for Texans. But they talked about, I think they were at the Super Bowl, and they talked about how, the stadium was filled with energy, and it was rocking, and then everything got quiet because the kickoff happened, and it was just a touchback, and it's like, okay, we're going to a commercial break again. It's a wasted play. And so, yeah, we're not the types either, and you're about to hear our opinions on the new hip drop tackle ban. We're not the types to be like, make everything safer, because that's the nature of football. It's a violent sport, and that's why people like it. Like, we like seeing big hits. So I don't know. I think anything to improve the watchability of the game within reason is a good thing. And yeah, I think that it'll help with game flow. We'll see how I'm not sure what kind of schemes that teams are looking to draw up, because it'll be interesting to see how we utilize special teams. Like, if we, I bet some interesting strategies will occur. But yeah, I just wanted to say that real quick. I think it's going to be awesome for the momentum of a football game, because I was sick of coming back from commercial break, seeing a touchback, and then going straight back. So we'll see. But yeah, tell me your opinion about the hip drop tackle, because I've got opinions, obviously, too.
So when we're talking about the kickoff, we're talking about a play that happens after, you score, or change of possession. Like, it's just a change of possession. That's when it happens. And that's just one play. It's one play, and you are kicking it off to the other team. When we're talking about a hip drop tackle, we're talking about live play. These guys are running full speed to try to catch up to somebody. This is a violent sport, like Mark just said. This is what they sign up for. If you say, I'm all on board for making things safer on kickoff for a change of possession, because yes, you shouldn't be getting hurt on a change of possession. But I can see some sides of why people want to ban it. I know Dak Prescott, I believe, got that really bad injury on a hip drop tackle.
That was gnarly.
But that's the nature of the game.
Right.
That's what it is. You can't tell a professional athlete, don't die. Like, if a guy's running, he intercepts a ball, and a receiver is trying to hawk him down. Now he can't jump on his back to bring him down. Or grab his hip and pull him down. Like, dude, that's what the game is. He's trying to stop the guy from scoring, and you're preventing that now. So we are not Mr. Safe guys, which is funny because I work in safety. But when it comes to sports, this is what it is. This is what the NFL is. It's a dangerous sport. They know what they signed up for. The problem is now you're banning tackles, like specific tackles. And I believe it's going to be a personal foul, which is 15 yards.
So I thought that it was going to, the majority of those instances wouldn't necessarily be flagged. They would just be addressed via fines after the game, which, okay, if we're going to make the rule change, I would prefer that. But the beauty of football is there's a lot of thought that goes into tackling a defender, like which angle to take, what strategy to use based on who the offensive player is. But the beauty of the sport is the other half of it is using your power to bring into the ground. And if we're making people think too hard about what's going to be flat, like it's not fun. Like I'm not paying. So this is an exaggeration, but I'm not paying to watch a Pro Bowl game. I'm paying to watch people hit other people hard because caveman version of me wants to see that. So I don't think it's going to be, I think they're doing like a 1-year experiment. I don't think it's going to be well received. Obviously, players have already voiced their opinions, including J.J. Watt, who tweeted something along the lines of just like put flags on him already. We'll see what happens. I don't like it. I know you don't like it. I don't think many people like it. But the vote was nearly unanimous to get it approved. So I don't know if it's going to go away. We'll see.
And doesn't the NFLPA vote on this thing?
The NFLPA voted against it, but the
execs
NFL owners, all the executives except for like 1 or 2 voted for it, and I don't really see how that's
fair. They're not playing the
game. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if the players,
they pay these players, so it's their money.
But in my opinion, they're being paid to, there's a risk injury. So I don't know. Like if they're paying the players and the players are voting for the more violent option, doesn't that kind of say something? Like I don't know. Yeah. Well, I'm not an expert on this type of tackle either, but I know it's more likely you get injured on them. But it's
football.
It was an annoying rule change in my opinion. I don't think either of us liked it. But let's go ahead and move on. Oh, unless you want to say something real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't exactly know what the new kickoff rules are going to be. I don't know like where they line up or where they're going to I know they kick off from the 30 now or something along those lines, or 40. It's definitely a little.
I believe
before
the defenders, they're 10 yards apart on either the 20 or the 30 or the 30 and the 40, and then there's a zone in the back between end zone and the returning team where they have to return it, something like that. I'm not really sure.
And so, like we said, I like the kickoff change. I think it's something new. I think that is fun to see what we can do with that. Hip drop tackle, I'm totally against. This is the game of football. This isn't flag football. We pay to watch people get hit. That is the game. And that's just what it is. But yeah, we can move on for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to let you talk about this one since you're the one who made our beautiful banner in the first place. But
yeah. So we've already seen one uniform. I think we've talked about it, Mark, didn't we? I think we touched on it.
Yeah, we talked about it.
So y'all already know our opinion on that first one. So we're hoping that these next ones are going to be so much better. I hope they're super clean and we can rock them.
I was cool with the first ones. I was okay with the first ones. I wasn't crazy about them, but they were pretty clean.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're clean, but I hope these are better.
I was expecting a little more.
We'll find this out on April 23rd. It starts at 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at 713 Music Hall in Houston. And I believe 2 to 3 days after that is the NFL draft. So that's going to be a very exciting week. We are going to be active that week for sure. That uniform reveal is going to be something to talk about, and we will have a lot to talk about. I want to say, like we've told y'all before, we don't really schedule. Like we didn't put one out last week because we didn't feel like there was anything to talk about that was worth doing this. So this week we knew that we had to put something out. We're all about quality. We want to put out something that y'all want to listen to, not have to listen to. Like, it's one of those things. So, but that week we probably will do something like together. Like I feel like what the uniform and the draft, like, because they're going to be kind of close, but we'll figure that out when the time comes.
I'm thinking some sort of like after April 23rd, like maybe 24th or 25th, we'll do like a uniform reaction and pre-draft podcast. And I know we don't have a day one pick on the draft, but I think we're going to turn it into a tradition. My girlfriend and I going to Twin Peaks, getting a beer and watching the draft. So
yeah,
maybe we'll be in Houston too. I actually might be in Houston. I might be in Houston, so maybe we can link up for that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I was when we drafted C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, Twin Peaks.
That's where I was too. That's funny.
So,
I was at a different one. That's funny.
But yeah, so that's going to happen on the 23rd. Draft happens a couple days after that. That'll be a fun week of podcast, dude. That is going to be so much to talk about. I'm going to be so excited. But yeah, man, I mean, other than that, I'm excited. Our team is looking dangerous, to say the least. I mean, we're debating if the Houston Texans are the number one in the AFC over the Chiefs,
Who would
or
have thought
even
we'd be here?
possibly the NFL. Possibly, we have to prove it. But on paper, like you said, we are talking about the Houston Texans as possibly a Super Bowl. We're Super Bowl contenders now, and
America's team.
Yeah. And Stephen A. said it. We're the best team in Texas. He said it best. So, and
Stephen A. is always right. So
he is always right, especially about the Cowboys.
And I want to mention one more thing. We are also. This is probably going to be after the draft. We're going to do some prediction stuff after the draft because we'll get a better idea of the landscape around us. Teams aren't really that complete yet, but we're going to do a game-by-game record prediction since we know the opponents that the Texans will be facing. So that'll be a fun episode. You'll see our opinions on that, and then obviously AFC South video. And what was the other one? Maybe like breakout candidate predictions.
Yeah,
we're gonna do a lot of fun episodes,
or bold predictions of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll and also like during the season, we're gonna have so much fun doing those where it's like we can predict the score. Hopefully one of us can hit on one of those. That'd be amazing. So it can be on record. No one can say we lied. But yeah, we'll definitely do those score predictions before the game, stuff like that. We're trying to do so many fun things to keep I know y'all haven't been super active in the comments, but dude, we'd love to hear y'all's predictions, especially when it gets close to that, to when the season starts. We're still really new at this. Is I think our 4th episode. And like we say every time, we love doing this for y'all. Please watch our videos, share the videos, subscribe to our channel, comment, leave a comment on our videos. We want to see what y'all think. Give us a little bit of feedback on if you want to see something else. We're going to do something new in the next, I don't know, probably a month or so, where we're going to have a guest on to talk about the Texans. We love talking to anybody. So we're going to see how that goes with our guests. We're going to see how it works. And then maybe from there, we can start having people who want to talk about it with us on, and we can do some sort of episode with fans, like people who watch our videos, who like to hear us talk, and we can talk to you guys on this platform and we'll post it. That's something we're thinking about too. And we're just trying to be interactive, guys. We want to hear y'all's feedback. So please, subscribe, comment, like it, share it, do all that stuff. Mark, you have anything to say?
DraftKings, please sponsor us.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it, though. That's it. Yeah, we'll probably upload another episode before the uniform reveal reaction.
Yeah, we should be able to post one for sure.
I'm moving this upcoming week. Exciting stuff. So I'm gonna have a new setup. I know everyone has been really invested in what my background is for these videos. So settle down. It's about to get very professional.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to decorate a little bit more Texan stuff.
I don't think I've ever seen like a more bare wall in my life. Yeah. But no, it's cool. You gotta keep a neutral background. We gotta focus on the money shot. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And just that's really it, guys. We love doing these. Just subscribe, comment, like, share, do all those things, and we'll talk to you guys hopefully next week or in the next 2 weeks for sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.